Yeah. Thanks, Paula. Um, okay, so obviously I'm here to talk about an introductory community work education and training opportunity that we have funding to support. But just I'm going to first just talk a small bit about who we are. So it'll put in context why why we're supporting community work education and training. So we're an all-island body that was set up to promote and support community work and community development and to ensure standards and quality in education and training that supports community work practice and the discipline overall. So really it's about strengthening, reinforcing community work profession through the development of the standards, the All Ireland standards, which a lot of you will be familiar with, some of you mightn't be yet. And the way we do that work is through the development of standards that can be used by all stakeholders. So they're not just for community work practitioners, they're for community work educators, employers, funders, policymakers. So they should inform policy, they should inform funding streams, they should inform practice, they should inform employment and recruitment of workers, they should inform the practice of organisations. Then also part of what we do is we have developed what are called endorsement and recognition frameworks for community work education and training. I'll touch on them a little bit more in a minute. And we've developed, I suppose, links and exchanges with national and international quality assurance and education bodies. So we, for example, would have strong links with QQI. That's really been developed in the last year to year and a half, and it's kind of growing. So QQI would now recognise us as what they call, the language they use is the peak sector body for community work. So I suppose what they're essentially the professional body for community work is how they recognise us. And we also undertake on a research to inform community work policy and practice. And I suppose our work is distinct, but it would complement the work of Community Work Ireland and other community work organisations. We all play slightly different roles. So just for those of you who aren't, I'm just putting up that's the standards. I know Anne, I have a box of them going around in my car to give to Anne to share out because we had ran out of them, so we've got more. So that's just to make people familiar with the document. Just to give you an idea of our current and ongoing and kind of core activities. So I mentioned how we endorse programs. So we recognise professional qualifications are those honours degree. So that's qualifications at level 8 or level 9. Honours degree are postgraduate qualifications in community development. So at the moment, there's 4 programs that are endorsed, professionally endorsed qualifications. So Maynooth have they have 2. They have a master's and a degree program in community work and youth work, both part-time and full-time. Technological University of Dublin Blanchardstown have a BA in community development and youth work. Ulster University have a part-time honours degree in community development. And ATU and Castlebar, they haven't ran it yet, but they have a full-time degree in community development and youth work. And we're working with other providers who are out there who are providing programs that have a focus on community development to look at getting their programs endorsed. And what getting it endorsed means is we've put together, I suppose, a guideline for what should be included in those programs, how people are recruited onto those programs, the kind of learning methods that should be utilised, the kind of knowledge, skills and qualities that people need to develop on those programs. So when we work with the provider, they put together a submission to demonstrate how their programs align to the All Ireland standards for community work, because those standards that we've developed really set out the knowledge, skills and qualities that people need. We also then have a thing called a recognition framework for introductory community work education and training, and it's introductory education and training I'm here to talk about today. But that recognition process is, so we have a process where providers of programs at level 5, 6 and 7 can apply for AIEB recognition, and it's a fairly straightforward process, but it's really about them being able to demonstrate that their programs are informed by the All Ireland standards for community work and in line with the All Ireland standards for community work. So I suppose that they're benchmarking themselves against the All Ireland standards. And we have a quality assurance process for CPD initiatives. So CPD, I think Anne will probably have spoken to you about this, but CPD is continuous professional practice development. And we're all engaged in it all the time. Like I know some of you possibly on the screen are doing introductory community development training with Anne that the CWI are hosting. Like that's a CPD. You're engaging in training to advance your skills and knowledge. So I suppose we've developed a way of quality assuring CPD initiatives, but also then we're working to try and get recognition for and support for people to engage in CPD as part of their work. We also develop tools and resources in relation to new and emerging issues for practitioners and educators. We're doing a small piece of work looking at the terms and conditions for community workers, and we're looking at, I suppose, the sort of qualifications required and the pay for people versus that in other applied social professions that are maybe more recognised, like teaching, nurse and social work. Because you'll all know that there's huge disparity in pay rates for people in different types of community organisations that employ community workers. We also organise a range of events. Some of them are specifically for community work educators, some of them are more broad. We do work on promoting and profiling community development and the standards with organisations and with policymakers. So we do that through workshops, presentations. Community Work Ireland do some of that, and then we do some of that jointly as well. We work with other international organisations, our international bodies internationally concerned with community development to ensure that our standards, our community work standards and values are aligned internationally, because that there's cohesion in between the understanding of what community development is. And we've completed an education training and needs assessment. Some of you might have participated in it. We did in a number of regions around the country. We've mapped the community work education and training programs that are out there, which, would you believe, when we did that, there was 52 community work education training programs at all levels in the Republic of Ireland. So we work on an all-island basis. There was 64 in total across the island, because there was 11 in Northern Ireland. And actually part of what came as a result of that is we're currently engaged with QQI to do a review of their level 5 and level 6 programs. So some of you might have done minor or major awards in community development through QQI, and there's a review of those going on. And AIEB is leading that work in relation to community development programs, along with other stakeholders, so educate, ETBs, community work practitioners, third level institutions. And that's really, again, that's part of trying to ensure there's some kind of standardization and some kind of quality assessment of the education training opportunities that are there, so people are having a real and meaningful experience of education and training that aligns with the standards. So that's just to give you a broad view of what we're doing. So we have, I suppose, we're looking at qualifications at a number of levels. I've touched on CPD, and I'll just go into that slightly more. Like, CPD can be formal accredited training, and it can be informal non-accredited practice or professional development. Like, CPD can cover things like seminars, webinars, workshops, conferences, formal accredited training courses, informal workshops. So CPD is kind of a broad brush. I've explained to you what the professional qualification levels is, which is level 8 and 9, and that's kind of consistent with other applied social professions. And if we're looking for recognition of community work as a discipline, and therefore proper funding of community development, it's important that we really strive to kind of get recognition for the discipline, and then support for people to get professional qualifications if they want to do so, which is really where workers and projects should be ultimately have the vision of getting to. So, for example, some of you will have seen we had back in the summer, we advertised a bursary for people to undertake masters in community work and youth work through Maynooth University. And the reason we went for something at the postgraduate level is when we did our education training needs assessment, a huge amount of people already employed in community development roles or managing community development projects already had undergraduate degrees in other subject areas, let's say. Therefore, there was, I suppose that's why we went for the first initiative was at a postgraduate level, but it's a piece of work that's ongoing to look for support for people to pursue professional qualifications in a range of levels. And just to draw people's attention to the fact that, if you didn't know, SUSI grants are now being made available for part-time students. Now, that's supposed to kick in September 2024. So up to this, you had to be doing an undergraduate program full-time to get the SUSI grant, whereas that's changed now, and you can get the SUSI grant for part-time. That's really welcome, because it means people who are working and want to study part-time can get that support, as long as their income level is not above a threshold of, I think it's 55,000, give or take. But there's pressure, I suppose, for that to be in place for September 2024. That was the stated commitment by the government, but there's practicalities of putting that in place. So certainly, if we have any updates on that, I can share it with people. And I suppose related to that then, At the moment, there's a small number of AIB endorsed programs. That's why we're working with other providers to see about endorsing other programs, but also working with the providers that were already endorsed to see about them delivering their programs in different ways. So currently, Maynooth is the only one in the Republic offering a part-time degree route. So anyway, the introductory pre-professional programs at level 5, 6, and 7 is really what we're here to talk about. They're programs which could go from anything from a full major level 5 or level 6 award with QQI to 10, 20 level 20 credit certificate programs in academic institutions. At the moment, we have just a third program recognised by AIEB, and we have another one application in train with interest from another provider. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide because I'm going to end up talking ahead of myself. So the purpose of this funding that we've secured, and like it's not a big fund, we're not talking about a massive fund at the moment, 40,000. We hope that this will be an initial run, but we need to see how this works before we can go back to look for funding for another round. It's really to support the delivery of programs of AIB recognised programs in introductory community work education training. So at the moment, Maynooth have a level 7, 20 credit level 7 certificate community work and a change in Ireland. I think Ankel, some of Culture would have been involved in rolling out one of those programs in the last year, if I'm right. Then ATU Castlebar, they now have 2 programs. They have a 10 credit certificate and a 20 credit certificate. Introduction to Community Development, Part 1 and Part 2. And we had Technological University of Dublin Blanchardstown are putting in another application for a recognised programme. This is not an application for funding, it's to get their programmes recognised by AIB, so they can be programmes that AIB funding can be used to support. So the purpose of the funding is to support the delivery of programs that are recognised by AIB. And the reason we're looking at supporting the delivery of programs is if we can get programs, for example, if you could have a run of Maynooth's in community work and a change in Ireland that's run on a blended basis, that can facilitate people from various parts of the country to participate, depending on the way it's structured. There is a possibility of support for of individuals being able to apply for support to undertake a program, but it has to be one recognised by AIB. So that limits the possibilities, because if, for example, if all 4 programs recognised by AIB get funding under this initiative, they'll be advertised then for people to engage in. So, for example, if somebody's based in the Western region, they may, and the ATU Castlebar programme, which can be run from Mayo or Galway, gets funding support, that will be accessible to people living in this region. Likewise, the Technological University of Dublin Blanchardstown, they may be looking at a blended programme, which will facilitate more people to participate, or Maynooth with their programme, which can be offered on a blended basis. What I mean by blended, by the way, is a mix of online and in-person. So that's currently the way the master's programme is offered. So, for example, previously the Maynooth Masters was 1 day a week in Maynooth for 3 years, whereas now it's offered online 1 evening a week, and then there's 5 blocks during the year where you have to attend in person. That just makes it much more feasible for people. It's still a challenge, but it makes it more feasible for people living in different parts of the country. The reality is you can't do a community work education and training programme, certainly at a professional level, fully online, because you're an essential part of community work is that kind of group and in-person engagement, in the room. And you can only really develop the skills around that when you're in the room with people. Who can apply for support? So I've mentioned that education and training providers can apply. Organisations working in collaboration with providers of introductory community work education and training programs can collaborate to put in an application. And like I said, it'll be possible that individuals may have the opportunity. That will just depend on how much of a spread of programs are on offer. If, for example, if a program emerged in Cork that's AIB recognised, that's not supported under this programme, there's someone living in the Cork region who wants to do that, they would be able to apply as an individual. At the moment, there isn't one in Cork, but there could be. Just important things to note, we've actually extended the deadline now to April 17th. So originally the deadline was April the 3rd. So AIB recognition is key. And I suppose if anybody is linked with an education training provider offering something at this introductory level that's not currently AIB recognised, that's key to getting support, but also it's a really straightforward process. We've committed to a really fast turnaround for programs of two, if they put in an application, we'd revert to them in 2 weeks, you know, to state whether they've AIB recognition or not. But we've made the process as simple as possible. The main aim of this is to ensure that people who want to learn more about community work and acquire some basic community work knowledge and skills have the opportunity to do so. It won't capture everybody that's interested. That's just not feasible with the money we have. But we see this as a starting point. And it's important that this is of benefit to a diverse cohort of participants from diverse backgrounds and geographical locations. And it, I suppose, should be seen. A couple of people mentioned getting third level, degrees. This is really should be seen as a pathway to that. It's really for people who might be interested in going in that direction, but they want to do something preliminary first because maybe they have had no education or training of this nature before, and this would be like a starting point for them to see, is it a good fit for them? What kind of skills they need even to engage in a program at this level? And I suppose this training shouldn't be seen as an end in itself for people who are taking up community work roles. Like really, ultimately, what we want people to be in a position, have the opportunity to do is get full professional qualifications, but this should be seen as an initial starting point. I'm going to stop talking now for a minute and to give people a time or the opportunity to ask questions, look for clarifications. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can see all of you, if that's okay.
So maybe if I kind of just summarize from the perspective of the community development program, if that's okay from what you were saying there, Ciara. So I think there's a couple of aspects to it. Like, first of all, your individual organizations. So you can apply to the fund if you feel you under that slide that Ciara had there, who can apply. We could also look as a network to apply to the fund. What we would need to do is we would need to identify a provider that is already endorsed by AIEB. And I think that's key. It has to be with a provider that is endorsed by AIEB. So it's not any course in community development, it's just those that are endorsed by AIEB. So it could be open to us to put our heads together and to come up with a joint network application, or it could be that you would decide, actually there's enough people within my particular organization to apply for a program for ILMI or for Limerick Jobbers or whatever it is. So all of those options are up for discussion. We had talked over the last couple of years, Paula and Ankin, you might recall, about applying for funding to put on a community, this in particular in the Community Work in a Changing Ireland programme, for people in the network, both the workers, the people on the boards, or anybody else that you would feel is key. So this is why I thought this would be particularly interesting for members of the network. And just to say that I'm involved with and I know other people have been involved with, particularly with Community Work in a Changing Ireland. So that's under a degree programme. It's not a degree programme, but it's a really good, flexible introductory course to community development. And what we have found over the years is that, if you participate in the Community Work in a Changing Ireland programme, it opens up pathways to degrees, and as Ciara said, then ultimately to a postgraduate. So at the moment, AIEB is supporting people under a degree programme and then at master's level. So it can, there is a pathway there. No guarantees, like, obviously, but there is a pathway there. So I just think that's probably, just wanted to pull out some really key points, Ciara, that you made there. I hope that's okay.
Sorry, you said something there that triggered. I've lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me in a minute. Yeah, no, it'll come back. It'll have to come back to me because it's gone.
Yeah, we just throw it open then to questions.
Like, I'm wondering for people, is this something you were interested for yourselves, or is it for people more widely involved with the community development projects that you're involved with?
Can I just ask a question there? You were saying part-time. When you're saying part-time, could that be the evening time or do it when you're saying part-time? Is it morning time or evening time?
Well, that would depend on the education provider that's offering it. So, for example, I just give you an example. Currently, ATU Castlebar, that's Atlantic Technology. Sorry, I use terminology because I'm so familiar with it, but that's Atlantic Technological University Castlebar. They're delivering this program in Galway, and it's one morning a week, roughly speaking, is how they're delivering it. But I certainly know, Ankel, when community work and change in Ireland was run through Culture, what way was that structured?
Well, the first thing that I would like to share with you is we share this opportunity with the members of the organization in Culture Migrant Center and with some of the migrant leaders that they were part of the CDP project. And the experience was fantastic. Why? Because it helped them to have an overview about the context of the CDP project and what is the contribution that they can make to the big scope. I mean, why we are doing this CDP project? Because we are interested in promote participation, collaboration. What is our human rights framework? Why we are using this framework and not another one? And now the migrants leaders that they took part in this community work in Change in Ireland, they are not, some of them applying for the master degree, but most of them, they are supporting or sharing the information with the members of their organizations. That is for us an achievement in this sense. We run this course with the Minuth, and we having classes every Wednesday between 6 to half 8 p.m. And every month we have a collective session in Minuth on Saturdays.
And
Yeah,
I think
thanks.
that's key. And that's back to Margaret and Olive's point there. You can negotiate with your provider about whether mornings, evenings, afternoons suit the participants most. Like, it was one of the first questions that were asked about a group of people who were doing community work in a changing Ireland with the focus on climate justice at the moment. The first question is, when does it suit people to meet online? And then you do the blocks of time as well. So once every month or once every 2 months, you do need to travel to wherever is the base. Anita, will I facilitate here and let you answer the question? So Anita has her hand up.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask, so we're in Limerick City, so if we're looking for pathways to get community development qualifications, and I'm just wondering, where do we go? Because it sounds as if these courses that are available are in other parts of the country. No, so we can access.
You see, the beauty about some of these, I can't speak to the other indoors programs, but I can speak to community work in a changing Ireland. It moves, it moves to wherever the base is. So if, for example, Limerick Travel Network applied for support to put on a community work in a changing Ireland program, there's a whole load of work associated with it, but the base could be Limerick. So your once a month or whatever it is could be in Limerick. So instead of all of you travelling, the facilitator or the lecturer or whoever would travel. Am I right in that, Ciara? Is that your kind of understanding?
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose the key thing with the funding we have available at the moment is that it needs to kind of facilitate a diverse cohort of people from different areas. So if it would probably make more sense if organizations were coming together to organize collectively. But that's up to organizations themselves, I think there's two things, Anita, that like full professional qualifications are more limited, because currently full professional qualifications, except for the Maynooth one, are full-time programs. That's a part-time program. And I mean, obviously we're working with providers to look at ways of more of them becoming more accessible. That's why I was saying, for example, the master's is a big leap, but if you just use that as a model for people who are in a position to do that, they wouldn't have been in a position to do it when it was one day a week on campus in Maynooth. Sorry, my screen jumped and I lost people. I was looking at Anita and Anita became Anne in front of my eyes, sorry. But now the way that's delivered, because it's online with blocks where people have to come together in person, that's facilitated more people to do it on a wider basis. So we're working with providers to do, you know, with providers of stuff at the undergraduate level to try and create those opportunities. But these things are slow moving cogs, you know, institutions have a way of working and it's a slow moving process. But these introductory community work education and training programs, the community work and a change in Ireland one can be delivered on a blended basis. That's the Maynooth program. So blended is a mix of online and in person. So that facilitates a wider base. And depending on what Maynooth could decide to run to apply for support to do a run of that themselves and put that out to anyone living anywhere to do it and run it on a blended basis. That would and have one shared central location where the classes are delivered, or like I say, like Anne said, an organisation or a collaboration of organisations could work with Maynooth to support the delivery of it, and then the location would be dictated by the organisations involved.
Yeah,
so
like community work in a changing Ireland has been held in Donegal, for example, with Donegal Travers project. It's been held in Galway because I used to teach in the one in Galway. And then it can also, so it can be location based, but it can also be, you know, people with a different interest. So the one at the moment that I was talking about, the climate justice one, there's people all over the country on that. So it's very flexible. And I'm only talking about the one I know. Obviously, it's easier if there is a provider in your area. It's just easier, you know, it just is. But it's not necessary. It's actually not necessary. But when you say there, Ciara, can I just ask you, when you say that you want to cover a diversity of participants, are you encouraging more than one organisation to, like the community development network, as opposed to an organisation?
What we're doing is providing information, letting people know who the AIB recognised programs are, and I mean, really, like, we have this funding needs to, from our point of view, needs to meet a spread of people, you know, from different geographical locations. That's what we try to do with the master's program as well. You know, it's a similar, because it's the first time we've got funding to do this, so we need to try and facilitate as many people who are interested or as possible to have not support individuals, but provide the opportunity that people from diverse parts of the country, support the provision of an opportunity that people from diverse parts of the country can, you know, avail of. It's like I say, it's not going to meet everybody who's interested in something like this. That's just the reality. It's the first, I suppose, time we're in a position to do this. You know, I'd hope that it's the start of something, but you have to go with something once and see how it, you know, how many people have benefits, what are the outcomes, what's the feedback, etc. You know.
I think though that it's going to be drip like the masters, you know, at the start, people, and then all of a sudden there's a huge wave of interest because people are actually becoming aware of what's available. Siobhan, you're being very polite there with your hand up.
Hi, thanks. No, I'm just wondering, is there a limit to the number of participants an organisation can apply for?
Well, so you're not applying to us for the number of participants. You'd be either working along with an education provider, they'll have a limit, or the education provider themselves, if they're offering a run of the programme, will have a limit. A lot of them, I think it's tends to be about 25 people. Generally speaking, in community work, whatever level it's at, whether it's at this introductory level, whether it's at the undergraduate level, whether it's at master's level, you're looking at what's a comfortable group work number, you know, to come together in a room. So currently on the master's, you might correct me, but I think there's about 23 people on that master's program, 24. You mightn't know the number off the top of your head, but it's about that. And I don't know, Angel might say, how many did the community work in a change in Ireland when they completed that program?
We have 20 students with Maynooth and us. Okay,
which is a really good number for one organisation. Do you know, that's an amazing number.
There's 20 from Culture.
20 students. Half of them from County Louth and the other ones from County Meath, Mullingar, Navan, Kentstown.
That was an initiative driven by Culture themselves, where they went and got funding and support to then work with Maynooth to get to deliver a run of that programme.
Cabin Travellers at the moment are meeting with, you know, they're talking about a similar program to be run in Cavan with travellers in that program. So they're just
Yeah, and for
beginning to.
example, in Mayo currently, Mayo, some of you from travel organisations, Mayo Traveller Support Group went through a period where it didn't become defunct, but it wound down, and it's kind of, they're trying to build it back up, and they've worked with ATU Castlebar for they've got funding to support a delivery of the ATU Castlebar AIEB recognised programme. They're doing that currently. There's 26 people on that programme, I think, currently, and
So
there's
they would
one
be.
in Galway also,
So I
similarly,
was.
who,
Sorry,
sorry.
so that I was just going to add to your point there, like the group in Mayo would be made up of, you know, for people who formerly worked for Mayo Travellers, and then others who might be interested in working for Mayo Travellers further, whether it's on a PhD or whatever it is, and then others who are interested in becoming board members at a management level. So Anita, you have your hand up, and I think is it Margaret or Olive?
Olive.
You have your hand up as well. So Anita first, and then Olive.
Yeah, so it was just, and I'm sorry to ask to repeat, but it was just to clarify for me, like what supports are available if we want to go down this route of you know, of offering a community development course or whatever in Limerick. I just want to clarify what funding we can apply for, what supports we can get, and apologies if I'm asking you to repeat.
No, so what you need to find an AIB recognised provider and work with them to apply for support. There's an application form. I can send you the link online afterwards. Sorry, Anita, every time I talk to you, you jump on the screen and I find myself talking to a different face. So I can send you the link to the application form afterwards. I can answer kind of more detailed questions separately, but the application form kind of sets it out. And so, but you'd have to find a recognised provider. So as I said, at the moment, that's really limited at the moment. But like, obviously we hope to grow
Does
the
it cover the
recognised
cost
provider.
though?
Sorry?
Would it, for example, would it cover, like, if a fictitious
Organise it.
group or network came together, or an organisation came together and applied, what level of funding does it cover? The full cost, or
There's no guarantee that it'll cover the full cost, because it depends on how many applications come in. There's a question on the application form. For example, have you other for I can't remember the exact wording of it, other sources of funding which can contribute towards supporting the delivery of this program, or for example, do you anticipate a charge to individuals undertaking the program? We're not saying there has to be a charge, but for example, if an education and training provider was delivering it, they should put a minimum charge on it. If it's an organisation, you would need to be looking at, do organisations have a training budget that can support and top this up? Because there's no guarantee. We could get in 4 applications, for example, and there's just only a certain pot of money. We could get three applications, whatever, and that has to be split in a meaningful way between those who've been provided, if they all meet the criteria.
Olive?
Yeah, but it's going to ask them, when you say funding, what are funding? When you're saying there's funding there, how much is the funding that is
Just
available?
40,000 is the initial run.
Right.
Yeah, it's the initial run. So it will depend on the cost that education providers put on their programs, which vary. They vary.
Is there a limit in age? What age group?
No, well, I'm sorry, it is for people
I'm
who
just
are.
saying. I'm just saying that we were running a group, and we'd just give you an example. Like, if we'd young girls of 16 years of age, would they be able to do it? No.
No, it is really about supporting
Yeah.
people who are working in a paid or voluntary capacity in a community work setting.
Yeah, I know
like-
that. I know what it's for. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying we had younger people that was interested in, like, what they were talking about for the future, like learning them for the future.
Yeah,
This is where I
I-
think, because if you're talking about teaching people who are under 18, there are particular things that you have to look out for that don't apply to
Yeah.
people over 18. Like, people would need to be Garda vetted, for example, if they're
Yeah.
teaching kids under 18. But I think what we need to do is we kind of need to have a conversation ourselves about possibilities and about different things that we can look to then. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
100%.
Yeah, because I can only kind of tell you about the initiative, but I can't. And
You can't
advise as
strategize
how-
for us. Yeah.
I can't because I would have other organizations, or individual, provider or programs kind of asking me the same kind of question, say, but I can certainly, Put the
So
link
I'd
to the
say, I think
application form
if
in.
anybody has any other questions for Ciara, maybe put them now. And what we can do then is we can have a bit of a conversation ourselves, if that's okay, Ciara, just to see what the possible, because I know there are
Oh, yeah,
certain things like that you can't, yeah. Any
well,
other
just,
questions
yeah,
then for Ciara?
I don't think so.
like I'd love to be on the screen saying we've 100,000 and we can support five, but this is an initial stepping stone, you know. It's the first time we've got funding to support something at this level. We'd hope for it to grow, but there are no guarantees about that. But this is a first attempt at it, you know.
Okay, go on, Fiona.
Can I just ask a quick question? And this is probably not for here, but the bursary for the masters, is that happening again for the semester starting in September?
Anyone who's currently on the masters is, if that's the question, has 2 years of the bursary
Oh yeah, but there
guaranteed.
isn't a second one for new intakes.
No, not as of yet, because
No.
I suppose if this relates to what I was just talking about, this is the first time we got funding to support something like that. So the department who funded us will want to see
Demand.
what the
They have to all
success of the,
pass.
what is the, like, for example, if they gave us funding for another cohort of people to start this September and half the 20s, whatever,
Yeah.
who started last year are gone by next, you know,
Yeah.
like, to be fair to them, they need to see that there's value for money in them and supporting it, you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
What I would say is there is kind of increased recognition. I mean, the department recognising their own strategy, the strategy Sustainable, Inclusive, Empowered Communities, that they need to support access to professional qualifications. Now, they may not have thought when they wrote that has financial implications, but it's obviously
Oh, we
clear to
did.
them now
We
that it
did. As
does.
one of the people who wrote it, we
Yeah,
did. We
sorry,
knew.
yeah. Yeah, I just not, I sometimes wonder, were they clear, but I think they might have been, and they're even more clear now that it does require an investment from them. They're keen, they see the value of people having qualifications. Ultimately, they encounter that in the work because of the people they're engaging with at a policy level, you know, and what those people can bring to the discussion that maybe others haven't, you know, haven't been in a position to, you know.
Yeah.
But sorry, long-winded answer. They want to see how the success of that before they'll commit to something else, Fiona.
So Siobhan has a question, and then we might stay on after Ciara leaves us, if that's okay, just for a few minutes. Siobhan?
Yeah, sorry, I'm probably you've probably already said it, but just to check again, the courses are level 5, 6, and 7.
They could, actually currently the ones that are available are level 6 and level 7. There's not a level 5 one AIEB recognised at the moment, and there probably won't be for a while, because we're doing the only ones being offered at level 5 are QQI ones through the ETBs or approved providers, and we're doing a review of those programs at the moment, or not the programs, but a review of the award standards for those. So without getting too technical, there won't be a level 5 one on offer just yet. But
Community Working and Changing
we only
Ireland is level
recognise
6.
programs. Sorry, we only recognise programs at those levels. Essentially, they're pre-professional programs because professional qualifications are at level 8 and 9.
So can you just remind us then, Ciara, is Community Working and Changing Ireland level 6 or level 7?
Level 7.
And the one in ATU?
Level 6, but I wouldn't get too tied up in the levels, you know.
No, that's just for my, that's,
yeah. It's, and the ATU have a 20 credit program and a 10 credit program, and the Community Working and Changing Ireland is a 20 credit program. So that's why I say these are, I think some of what Angel said about the experience of those in Culture who did the program kind of highlighted the value of programs at that level. It is about giving people some of the kind of basic information and knowledge and skills so they're better equipped to participate in their local organizations, you know, as volunteers, as board members, in a paid capacity. So I think he kind of articulated it well, and then that there's some people obviously looking to move on to get full professional qualifications from that.
Can I ask you a question? If you're doing them qualifications, right? And if you wanted to go one further, like to do a degree, how many more years would you have to do?
Oh, that's a good. Is it Olive is your first name? Sorry.
Yeah, Olive, yeah.
Degree. Well,
it depends on the degree.
Yeah, but part-time degree, for example, is 4 years. Full-time degree, depending on the institution you go to, is either 3 or 4 years. I
There's,
know, for
there's no
example,
shortcut to a degree. Do you know,
there
you
isn't.
have to put in the time. You know,
Yeah.
you do have to put in the time. So the programs that Ciara is describing prepare people
Yeah,
to
that's what I'm
take on
saying.
a degree
Preparing for
program.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
So although you do all that, you still have to do your 3 or 4 years to do the degree. Is that it?
Oh yeah, because at 20 level, at 20 credit, so some of the programs we're talking about, you're talking about 100 hours. Whereas when people go and do a degree, to be honest, I can't remember the hours. I should know it off the top of my head, but you're talking about multiples and multiples
Yeah, yeah.
of the 100 hours to get, especially in something like community development, like youth work, like social work, like teaching, like nursing. There aren't what providers, what education providers can try to do is deliver them in a way that's more accessible to people. So I'm doing a mix of blending in person, but you do require, if you're to acquire all the knowledge and skills you require to do those jobs at a level that's recognized as a professional level, then like there's just not a shortcut to that,
Yes.
really. They can just make it easier in
Ciara,
different
can I
ways, if
just
you know what
ask
I mean.
one question? You said the organisation has to be working with a reputable
A recognized provider.
Yeah. So for example, in Limerick, who would be
There
our,
isn't a recognized program in Limerick currently.
so
And
could we
Margaret,
look
is it?
into setting up or organising one of those? Could we
Sorry,
could we look into kind of
It-
how would we go forward if there isn't any one of those in Limerick or near
Well,
Limerick?
Maybe I can take some of those questions, Ciara, if you like, because I know we're sort of getting into the area where you can't, you can't.
But yeah, but
decide
what I would say, Margaret, if there is somebody delivering a program locally, you could talk to them about just. I'm just thinking of future proofing, opportunities locally in Limerick. You could talk to them. I can send you on information on the AIB recognition process. It is really simple. I'm happy to talk to any provider of a program that's at an introductory level to work through that recognition process with them. If they're,
The
if
other
like I
thing is,
know
Margaret,
Limerick Central College at times have run a program, I think. You
but
would be more
also,
familiar
Margaret,
with.
the provider doesn't have to be in Limerick. These types of programs can move, they can travel. So you don't need necessarily to have it all. Obviously, it's better. And I think that's a really good point you made there, Ciara. Like if there are people doing the work but aren't recognised by AIEB at the moment in any area, we'd suggest you put them in touch with AIEB to go through the recognition process. But the other thing to remember is these things move. Will we thank Ciara and maybe just kind of get into our own
I know,
questions?
thanks to yourselves. It's good
Yeah,
to meet
thanks.
people because I've heard the various different projects. So it's good to put names to faces and meet people. I'm sure I'll hopefully meet you again along the road somewhere. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks a
Ciara.
million,
Thanks,
Ciara.
Ciara.
Bye. So there are a number of different options open to us. Like, first of all, like most of you know at this stage, but maybe it's not quite clear, we can do introductory programs. So we want to do, we're going to do a couple of hours with the mock. We're going to do a couple, these are the new projects. So Amach, Limerick Travellers and Amal, I'm going to do a couple of hours with them. I haven't got any response from Limerick Travellers yet, but that is about making sure we're all on the same page in terms of the understanding of community work. So I'll do a session on kind of community work with each of the projects. Then the second option for you is we run a 4-session introductory course to community development. And there's nobody, there is a few people from Culture on it at the moment. There's nobody from Longford. Tiernan was there last week, but wasn't there today, which is absolutely fine. You can join again.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I just lost you there when you started that about the 4-week session.
Yeah.
You dropped out.
So people aren't reading their emails. So we have a 4-week introductory session. We did it last year and we're doing it. We're just finished session 2 today of the 4 weeks of the second one. So basically what that is that's open to all of the community development projects and to people associated with the community development projects. So we've a good few people who volunteer with ICON, people who volunteer with Culture on the one that I'm currently doing. So we can either do that as a group, so people can come from the different organizations, or what I'm thinking is I can also do it for individual organizations in the network. So I'm doing it for Clare Travellers. I'm doing the 4 weeks just with Clare Travellers. And when I say 4 weeks, it's 1 3/4 hours in the week. It's not a full week or anything. It's just one session a week, 4 sessions. So I'm going to do that with Clare Travellers, just with Clare Travellers, because there's so many of them want to do it. So they're things we can offer. Then at the next level, we are talking about this fund that Ciara has just outlined, and it is open to any of you as individual organisations to apply to that fund to support community work programme in your area or with your group. Just remember that it has to be one of the 4 recognised providers. Is it 3 or 4, Ciara said, but I'll get that information for you. It has to be with a recognised provider, and they're very limited. And then at the other level, at the other end of the spectrum, there is also a bursary fund for now, as we said, at the moment, it's going through the first 2 years, and there won't be another fund until we see how that has worked. But there are people associated with these projects who are currently availing of that bursary fund to attend the master's degree programme, and that pays for all of the fees for that math. So you're getting a master's degree programme for not, I won't say for nothing, there's blood, sweat and tears, but that your fees are paid. So that's the good thing in terms of finances, and in terms of finances being a barrier, we're beginning to address that. Okay, so let's see what's a possibility. Siobhan.
So, and your 4-week introductory sessions, what's the minimum number required for you to do that with an organisation?
I do it with 10.
Minimum?
Yeah. No, there's no minimum.
There's no minimum. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. I'd like to have a group, but
I know. Yeah. Well, you really need a few at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anne.
And I'm open to doing them in person as well. I'm going to do the Clare one in person, the 4 weeks in person. At the moment, it's online, and everybody's kind of getting sick of online. But say, for example, like Margaret, Olive, and Anita, ye thought, 4 weeks of just a toe in the water community work course, no obligations, there's no fee, there's nothing, just to see, if people would be interested in it. I could easily come to Limerick, for example, one day, half a day a week or whatever for 4 weeks. That's entirely open. So, I don't know if there's appetite for a network application, or whether you're thinking more the lines of organisations. Fiona, I was going to say a mock.
Change that, but no, and I think we haven't had much uptake yet, like on that introductory session, and I think really we're kind of at a bit of a stalemate until we get the building open fully and get the community in and more engaging.
Yeah.
And I think then following that, we'll probably have greater interest in what we're doing. I think there's a lot of the community disengaged at the moment. So yeah, we're just in that kind of carryover. We're out of one building. We're not fully in the new building yet, and we haven't fully opened the doors. We'll be opening the doors in April. And we have the calendar pretty full already.
Yeah.
So that's just to get people in.
Yeah.
And then we really want to get our volunteers in. I was talking to another volunteer this morning, and some of the conversations that they've been having, there's a lot of interest around where is Amach and what are we doing? What are we now under this funding stream? So I think there will be.
And hopefully we'll clarify some of that, that session I'm going to.
So there will be
do with you.
hunger, I think, for, because even our job advert that we had there recently, I mean, nearly 20 people applied for it. Now, over half of them weren't qualified at all, but it just shows there's an interest to engage and work with Amach.
Yeah.
And the same, we have a volunteer waiting list.
Yeah, great.
So I don't know. That's why when you're saying about a network application, I don't think if I put my name in for that, I don't have enough of the groundwork done to have people signed on to say they want to do it. There's still too much of, I think we need to do a bit more work.
I think the 4 weeks is fine. That can be organised at any stage, because I'm open and flexible. The decision to make an application on behalf of the community development network, though, is another step. Anita?
Just to say that, well, I mean, Olive and Margaret, they would be the leaders of our network, but just it sounds as if that would be a good possibility to offer the network. So we would have employed in the project, or the education project, 12 traveller workers, and there would be more people out in the community. So again, up to kind of Olive and Margaret, but I think to possibly take that possibility back to the network, it might be something that that people would be interested in. I don't know, what do you think, Olive and Margaret?
Yeah, I think just
definitely, yeah.
take it on board and we'll bring it back to the network and get back. I think you're very interested as well, yeah.
Yeah, if you want me to chat to yourselves as well, we can organize a quick call
Yeah.
just to look at possibilities. And what I'm going to do after today is just send an email to all. We're getting mixed up now. When I talk about the network, I'm talking about the CDP network, and you're talking about the Limerick Traveller network. I'm going to send an email to all of the CDP network, so that's all of you and the rest of the projects as well, and see if there is an appetite for putting in an application to Ciara's fund for a community work in a Changing Ireland programme, which means then, like, say, for example, that each project could nominate up to 2 people, or one project was only nominating 1. You know, you could have up to 2 to 3 people from each project on the community work in a Changing Ireland programme. But that's not my decision. That's all of your. I'll do the application and all of that, but you need to decide whether or not that's a good idea. So watch out for the emails that I'll be sending over the next while.
And that's
Very much.
sorry.
Go on, Olive. Were you
No, I'm
saying
just
something?
saying, that's fine. I said, let's be very.
Got our email, she has.
Have you got our email, you have?
I have. I don't have, because I sent out a list. I sent out a kind of a thing for people to put their names on for me to contact. But Olive and Margaret, you're not on it. I think I need to meet you guys on my own and
Yeah.
maybe go through a few things, because you're not. I don't think you're getting my email. So let's before we end today, let's set a time for half an hour,
100%, yeah.
maybe later this week, or well, early next week, and let's go through all of that, and I can get all of that, because I don't think the emails that are coming from the CDPs, I'm not getting a huge amount of response from Limerick, so it'd be good just to get that on, to get that started. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, Fiona, were you going to say something?
I was just the one that we're thinking of then as a network application is community work in a Changing Ireland. That's the one that's kind of on a blended offering, so it can be geographical. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great program. It's actually a great program. That's the one Ankle was talking about as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to be sending us information on that. Is that what you were saying?
I'm going to send you. I'm going to go and do is just send you an expression of interest in deciding whether or not to make an application. If we make the application, it could be with another course. I'm more familiar with community work in a Changing Ireland, so I'm going to be suggesting that, because I just know the people, I know the programme, I've taught on the programme myself. And if the answer is yes, then I'll just do the work that's involved in doing the application. I'll talk to Maynooth, who is the provider. I'll make the application, and then we can see, when we know how much money we have, we can see if that's, if we were successful, we know whether we could take 2 people from each project, or you know, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to be sending out first, is that expression of interest, and we'll take it from there then.
And can I just ask what the commitment is for that, to do that course?
So I can tell you about the ones that I'm familiar with, that because it can change. Like, one of the ones that I taught on a couple of years ago was to people who were in direct provision in Galway, and those classes were held on a Saturday because that suited people. At the moment, the other one I'm involved in, which is taking a focus on climate and climate justice, they meet online once a week, and they've decided that Thursday afternoons suits them. It could be a Monday evening, and then there are 3 blocks where people come together for an overnight. So they come, and it suits, because they're all over the country, it suits them to meet in Maynooth. So they come to Maynooth for 3 overnights over a year's, 9 months. Over 9 months, they've got three overnights. But those overnights could be anywhere. They don't have to be in Maynooth. They don't even have to be overnights. They could be a day, do you know? It's entirely flexible.
Excellent. Can I just check what qualification then you get at the end of that, of doing that particular course?
It's a Level 7 certificate, but it is an NUI certificate. So that's the difference between other things. This is actually a National University of Ireland certificate. It's not just, one that's given to you for attending. It actually has credits attached to it. So if somebody did that certificate and they were interested, for example, in going on to do an undergrad, a degree, it would be definitely taken into account in their degree, to get on the course and all of that.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do that course?
They can be run, the community work in a Changing Ireland one. It can be run over a year, it can be run over 9 months, or it can be run over 6 months. It's entirely flexible. Sometimes I think when they go on too long, people kind of lose interest. You kind of really want to get the momentum.
But if it did just say you had people that want to do it for 6 months, would they still get to level 7?
Yeah.
Oh, if the course,
No,
if people
thanks.
wanted to do it over 6 months, everybody would do it over 6 months, and they would get the level 7. But say they might do 3 hours a week instead of 2 hours a week if you were doing it over 9 months. Do you know, that kind of thing?
I understand, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be all worked out.
Yeah.
Just for example, then, if somebody wanted to go on and do a degree program in community development, like there are add-on options of level 8. So for example, if they had the level up as far as level 7 done, could they go into level 8? Do you know the way they do that in social care? And they do it with some other degree program. You have a level 7.
So you don't have to do all the modules or something. Would it be like that? Say they'd already, as part of the level 7, they might have done an introduction to community development, so they mightn't have to do that module for the degree program. I'd be lying to you if I said I was sure about that, but it's definitely something like if we did go down the line of a net, now you can make your own applications, that's entirely up to you, but if we do go down the line of making a network application for the CDP program, then we would meet with Minute as the providers, and you could ask all of those questions, whether it gives you a pathway into a degree program, and whether or it gives you credits for the degree program, so you don't need to do all the modules or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer.
University recognised it should, but what's the accreditation of the community year 1, the community work?
Oh, us, the 4-week one? No, there's no, there is actually, there's a CPD cert. Oh, the level 7. The community work in the changing Ireland.
Accredited?
I'd be lying to you now if I told you I know, but that would be a question we could put to Minute.
Yeah, okay.
Can I actually myself now listen, right? I got a level, I done a diploma, I got a diploma in women's studies, right? If I was thinking about going back to college doing a degree, as Margaret said, would I be doing that hand forward into my degree?
I don't know.
How would I find out that?
Where did you do the diploma?
In UL.
I'd ring whoever ran that diploma and I'd ask them.
Yeah, because Margaret done it, didn't you, Margaret? Because Margaret done it here. Margaret was doing psychology years ago. She left it, and then she went back, didn't you? Went back to last year.
I'm currently doing it. Yeah,
she's currently doing it now, but she didn't have to do the full modules. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, Anne, like I suppose there's a real gap in terms of people knowing, like understanding, even for myself as well, understanding all the different levels.
That's where the lack of information is coming.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be really helpful to
can't access anything if you don't know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think in terms of community development, it's just key, in terms of So I mean, I think to have that meeting with you would be fantastic.
Yeah. Will we set a date now then? That you're all on the screen rather than.
So just to say, we just work Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are our days that we're in. We normally have a team meeting on a Wednesday morning, so that's.
Okay.
Having a look now.
So it's just that my Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are. Well, look, maybe we could do it online, and we could just do half an hour online, and then if you felt like I'm dying to come down just to meet you, and because I've met you yourself, Margaret, and all, but it was only at the launch.
What day are you available? Because the three of us don't have to be here. Like the three of us don't have to be here. Like myself, Anita works Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Okay, so I can do next Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah,
I can't do Wednesday afternoon. No.
You can't do Wednesday afternoon. Okay, I could do Thursday afternoon at about 3.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Yes.
Thursday afternoon at 3. Brilliant. I'll send a link.
Is that the 21st, Dan?
That's the 21st.
Yeah. No, I think
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, and that's going to be online, Anne, is it?
That's going to be online, and let's talk about an in-person one then.
Perfect. That's fantastic.
Because I'm just conscious, my little questions, and we could just go through them. Any question that you
Yeah, I
have
have a lot, I,
to
you know, I'm saying, you know, I have a lot of questions to ask, but I didn't want to ask, like, I didn't want to ask, look stupid, to be honest with you, you know, it's just simple questions and just finding
Yeah.
out simple things and, you know,
Yeah.
just put it in
Well, let's
simple
go through
ways.
all of that next week.
And
All
it's
of that
so
next week.
important.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's
Very good.
fantastic. And then I'll forward you the Olive and Margaret's emails so that they can be included on the list.
Perfect.
So I'll
Perfect.
do
Yeah.
that. I'll do that after we go
In the
off.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wonderful.
lovely. And thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks a million. Looking forward to meeting you next week.
And yeah, and just to say to Margaret and Olive, will we take a 5-minute break and then
Of
come
course,
back
yeah,
again
yeah.
Have a
before
cup
we
of tea.
Yeah.
have a cup of tea before we meet Fanula at 4? Would that be all right? So we take a
Perfect,
5-minute
perfect.
break.
Yeah, thanks. No,
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy. That was lovely meeting
Lovely
you.
to
Thanks.
see you. You too. Yeah.
Thanks.
Siobhan, are you okay?
I'm okay. Thanks a lot, Anne.
Yeah. All right.
That was
Thanks
great.
so much. And again, I mean, the 4 weeks, if you wanted to do it with just a crowd in Longford, you know, we can organise that as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to run all that by Sean. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for all
Okay.
that, Anne.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Talk soon.
Lovely
Bye
to
bye.
see you. Bye.